Hello everyone and welcome back to Ground to Ground, a football series on the channel where we visit different football grounds across the country and maybe even one day across the world. In episode 1, we visited the Ibrox Stadium at very early hours of the morning. If you've not checked that out, feel free to go and do so. Tonight's episode is a little bit different. Same city, but two very different football clubs. Stoke City and Port Vale, rivals divided by history, but both massive parts of football in this area. As a Vale fan, you probably know where my heart lies, but tonight is bigger than football rivalry. And we're starting this episode at Stoke City. Bet365 Stadium, previously known to me really as the Britannia Stadium. And I do really think that football stadiums just hit different at night time, even as a rival fan. Now, I know what a lot of my fellow Vale fans are thinking right now, but football rivalry aside, Stoke City is a club with serious history in Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire. Going back to the Premier League years, big European nights, and just the atmosphere under the lights. Historically known, famously known for that infamous atmosphere. Now, I do actually have some memories at this stadium. As a lot of you know, I do follow Arsenal, and in Stoke City's Premier League days, I did venture down to watch Arsenal, sat with the Arsenal fans. It was brilliant, actually. We never really did too well away at Stoke. And there was actually a lot of rivalry between Arsenal and Stoke City after the Ryan Shawcross and Aaron Ramsey incident. Absolutely no love lost between Arsene Wenger and Tony Pulis. I think that was really where things started. Wenger referred to Stoke as a rugby club or a rugby team. But I guess you could say Mikel Arteta's current Arsenal side maybe learned a thing or two from that Stoke City side, or at least has adapted some sort of similar tactics in there. If you've ever done a cold night in Stoke, you know exactly what that means. Another memory I've got where I did actually sit in the Stoke end, believe it or not, was with a childhood friend. And it was a 1-1 draw that took place again when Stoke were in the Premier League versus Newcastle United. I believe Michael Owen was playing at the time for Newcastle, did actually go on to sign for Stoke as well, didn't he? I'm pretty sure. Played some games there. And Alan Shearer was the interim manager at Newcastle at the time. Faye scored for Stoke, proper powerful header. Then late on, Andy Carroll lofted header over Thomas Sorensen from a Damien Duff cross. 1-1 draw in the end. It was very late on that Newcastle got that leveller, actually. Absolute scenes. I think Shearer managed 5 points altogether while he was managing Newcastle, and to think one of them came from a tough battle at Stoke. Rivalries are part of football. They make it special, but nights like this remind you that every ground has got memories. Every club has got stories. Whatever side of the rivalry you sit on, you can't deny that this place has hosted some serious football nights. Cold Tuesday nights, physical football, big results against top 6 teams in the Premier League, Tony Pulis era, and just the identity of the Britannia Stadium. This ground saw Stoke through their Premier League years with some proper gritty nights. The kind of place big teams hated coming to. Cold, windy, long throws into the box. If you know, you know. You often hear the phrase, can they do it on a cold night in Stoke? And honestly, yeah, it was real. This place under the lights was different and a real test to any team. Never an easy place to come. The atmosphere's tight, the crowd's right on you, you feel it. Obviously, as a Vale fan, this isn't my home ground, but football isn't just about who you support. It's about the experiences that you collect. Rivalry is definitely rivalry, but respect is respect as well. You can tell that it was built for top-flight football, clean, open, purpose-built. It sits slightly outside the city centre, which gives it that football destination feel on match day. Even when it's empty, you can tell this place has stories. Stadiums aren't just concrete and steel, they're memory banks. Now, I won't be singing Delilah anytime soon, but I'll always appreciate what this ground represents. We'll move over to the fact corner, so I don't have to be nice about Stoke for too much longer. This ground opened in 1997 as the Britannia Stadium before becoming the Bet365 in 2016. So although it feels modern, it's still seen over 25 years of football. Before this, Stoke played at the Victoria Ground for 119 years. Imagine that, nearly a century and a half in one place. Stoke are actually one of the oldest professional football clubs in the world, founded in 1863. That's serious heritage. One of their biggest trophies came in 1972, winning the League Cup against Chelsea at Wembley. They spent a full decade in the Premier League from 2008 to 2018, and this place was genuinely feared during that spell. A lot of top sides dropped points here, wasn't an easy away day. Tony Pulis built a team that was physical, organised and hard to break down. It gave this place an identity. And we weren't alone on our ground to ground episode at Stoke tonight. We spotted a fox. Did not expect wildlife content on this episode, but here we are. Back to the football and the facts then. Peter Crouch brought proper flair here too. He scored his 100th Premier League goal in a Stoke shirt. I couldn't really not mention Rory Delap's long throws. They were basically corners. This ground even hosted European football during their Europa League run in 2011. Not many clubs can say that. It holds just over 30,000, big enough to feel imposing but still tight enough to keep atmosphere intense. Whether you support them or not, you can't deny the history here. One thing about Stoke fans, when Delilah starts playing, the whole place goes. Whether you love or hate it, hearing 30,000 people belt out Delilah is a proper football experience. The boothing end is where the noise really comes from on match days. Stoke's identity is rooted in the city's history. The Potters, working class, industrial, gritty. Stoke certainly leaned into being a villain for a while, and their fans absolutely loved it. You can see how open this ground is. When the wind picks up here, it changes games. For a club some people wrote off as Route 1, they had European nights here. That says everything. Every club has an identity. Stoke built theirs on their grit, noise, and making life uncomfortable. Stoke also gave football one of its true icons, Sir Stanley Matthews, first ever Ballon d'Or winner. There's serious history right there. Even people in rock culture support Stoke City. But it's not just music stars either. Local boxer Nathan Heaney is a huge Stoke fan. He's worn the badge proudly and even fought here at the Bet365. That's proper city pride. And one thing you can't deny about Stoke, you can tell that they certainly back their own. And that to me is what football's really all about. A football club that represents the place and the people. In my opinion, identity is such a big part of a football club. Now, I don't actually know too much about where Stoke fans tend to go before the game. I obviously work in a local pub in the area and we get a few Stoke fans in there, but not a mass group. I know right by the ground there's actually a harvester, which I can only imagine gets absolutely rammed on match days. I suppose with the location of the ground, it's right near a place called Trentham Lakes. A lot of fans will probably pile into the harvester just before kick-off. Now there is a place called the Booth and Quarter in the stadium, which is like a fan area that they have events and stuff on. We did actually pass it, but it was all boarded up or locked up. Away fans, on the other hand, usually drink in town rather than near the ground. And to think that pitch right there has seen the highs of Premier League promotion and the lows of relegation. European football has been played on that surface. It's undeniable that Stoke has got its history, its identity, and its stories, but just a few miles away, there's another ground that means something very different to me. Football rivalry runs through this city. You don't have to go far to feel it. You can almost feel the shift. From red and white to black and white. This is what I love about football. 2 grounds, 2 identities, 1 city. And anyway, enough being nice with Stoke. This one feels different. Vale Park, Burslem. This is the place I grew up coming to. Cold nights, big wins, painful losses. All of it. Unlike out-of-town stadiums, this place feels stitched into the streets. Vale Park opened in 1950 and is one of the largest stadiums in League 2 and 1. England youth games have been hosted here. It was once proposed as a World Cup venue in the 1990s, never happened, but it was discussed. Seen promotions, relegations, and everything in between. This is the place for me where football stopped being something on TV and became real. When it's empty like this, it's calm, but on a match day, it feels 10 times bigger. It might not hold 30,000, but when it's rocking, it feels like it does. Very different to Stoke, older, rawer, but that's what makes it more special. Port Vale represents Burslem, one of the 6 towns that make up Stoke-on-Trent, and that's why this rivalry runs deep. And yes, Robbie Williamson is a Vale fan, and now club president. And this club's had its own heroes. John Rudge built an era here. Royce Broson gave his career to this badge. Tom Pope, a modern cult hero of the club. And Ian Taylor, Vale and Villa connection there. In 1993, Vale won the Autoglass Trophy. And sort of more recently in 2022, Vale won promotion via playoffs at Wembley. Promotions from here just feel earned, a lot more raw and authentic. And I can honestly say that day at Wembley was one of the best days of my life. This might not be Premier League grass, but it means more to the people who stand around it. And if you are a Vale fan, you're lucky that in Burslem there are plenty of pubs within walking distance from the ground that you can pile on into. And after the game as well, of course. No matter how many grounds I visit, I'll always come back here. Ground to ground might take me all over the country, but this is where it started for me. Now I am going to say that our time at Vale was cut short because we got very politely asked to leave. Basically, we'd parked our car on the car park and the staff kindly told us that they would be locking the car park within the next 5 minutes, so it might feel slightly rushed, but that's why. Bigger stadiums can impress you, but smaller stadiums always stay with you. Port Vale's roots go back to 1876, that's nearly 150 years of football. Port Vale's one of the only clubs in the Football League not to be named after a town. Always felt a bit different. And the funny thing is, I'm also a fan of the other club that isn't named after a town, and that is, of course, Arsenal. And speaking of Arsenal, Arsenal played here earlier this season, and I do have the vlog from that if you guys want to go and check that out on my channel. We hate Ryan Burge at the Vale, but we try not to talk about him too much as well. I do like what they've added down at the bottom there. We'll get a closer look at that in a moment. You got Mr. Port Vale, Royce Broson, gave his entire career to this club, over 800 appearances, 1 badge. That doesn't happen anymore. The John Rudge era, managed Vale for 16 years. John Rudge built the most successful era in Vale's modern history. Promotions, Wembley wins, proper momentum. In 1993, Port Vale beat Stockport County 2-1 at Wembley to win the Autoglass Trophy. Vale's history hasn't always been smooth. Financial battles, relegations, but it's always bounced back. This ground wasn't built for tourists, it was built for the people who live here. Burslem is actually the mother town of the Potteries, which Vale are tied to the likes of pottery heritage, industry, a lot of local pride and just pure graft. Now obviously you don't hear Delilah down here, but what you do hear is The Wonder of You by Elvis Presley. When the Vale fans are in full voice of that, there is nowhere else that I would rather be. Vale's always had players that felt like one of us. Tom Pope, Andy Jones, Tony Naylor, Mark Grew. Vale's caused a few shocks over the years, that's the part of the magic of clubs like this. Even beating the likes of Everton at Goodison Park back in 1996, which is a very big upset. This is the kind of ground you can hear every shout. There was a time when supporters literally ran this football club, and that tells you everything about the community behind it. And when we won promotion at Wembley in 2022, it felt like the whole town went. I personally know of a few Stoke fans that tagged along. We're certainly not glamorous, we're stubborn, but we're also all about loyalty. 2 clubs, 1 city, different colours, different identities, but the same love for football. That's what this series is all about, not just stadiums, stories. From the Bet365 to Vale Park, this is ground to ground. And this place right here will always feel like a home. We'll certainly be back here for more, and I will see you all there.